So we almost took off in the boat, but then I noticed that these bellows down here were cracked. So I figured I probably should fix those before we take it into the water. So I once again ordered a part, waited a week. Now the part's here, so we'll go ahead and put it on. And hopefully it does not turn into something bad. Let's just, it'll go smooth. It should go smooth. So I sprayed some Croil in these little bolts holding this thing in. I'm hoping that'll get it loose enough to where I can kind of tap them out. We'll give that a go now. Alright, I finally got these pins out. It was very difficult, but we got them. So I'm trying to pick this lower unit out and see if I can manhandle it. It's heavier than I thought it was. I cut a new gasket for this water hose on the lower unit. So hopefully, I mean, I don't think it needed one, but I'm sure the one that's in there is really stinking old, so I figured it was probably just fine to put a new one on there. So we're on our way to, it's not a lake, it's technically like a river access, but it's supposed to be deep enough where we can get the boat in and run the engine, see if it gets up to temperature, see if it overheats, make sure all the gauges work, and then also check for leaks. And so if there's no leaks and everything looks okay, we will drive around in that little cove a little bit, and then we might take off into the river. We'll make sure and go upstream, so if something breaks, it'll bring us back down, and hopefully we can catch the little cove and get back onto the boat. But we'll see how this goes. backed it down into the water and cranked it up, and the engine came up to temperature, oil pressure looked okay. Not as high as I wanted, but it was okay. Acceptable, I should say. I didn't see any leaks. There's a small water leak in the coolant system, but I think a new hose clean off the nozzle and then a new clamp would do that, fix that. But we're about to launch and put out anyway, and then a local pulled up and was like, "Hey, that's a big boat," and it's like, "Are y'all about to launch out there?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, sir." Said, "Oh man, I wouldn't advise it." I said, "Oh, what do you mean?" "Well, you know, right here it's kind of okay, but once you get out into the river, with all this rain, man, things are flowing. There's logs there, as it sweep you away in a jiffy." I said, "Oh, all right. Well, you know, I appreciate the advice." And I was like, "This is kind of the maiden voyage, so like we don't want to put it to the test where that kind of stuff's happening." So we decided we'd pull out and not do it here. There's a lake right there he said we could put in, but the trim, the outdrive gets stuck all the way down. And then when I try to trim it back up, the latch won't release. There's something going on back there I'll have to look at again. So there's no holes in it. The engine ran great. It went into forward and reverse. But I don't think today is like the day. It was only half the day. So we'll try again another time once I get that trim fixed, and maybe once the river's not apparently a rushing flood. So thanks to the local for potentially saving our entire boat. Oh, it's terrifying. We're unhooked from the trailer. It's kind of windy, so I don't want a trailer with this wind, but alright, see if we get the straps up.
Got it.
So yesterday I tried to take the boat out and did not quite go according to plan. Something was up with the drivetrain, I guess. It would go into reverse, but then it didn't have enough power to get us fully off the trailer. Well, okay, it had enough power to get us off the trailer, and then the wind took us and drifted us away from the trailer, but it wouldn't. I couldn't tell if it was still engaged and like the prop was slipping, which I don't think is happening, or if it's coming out of gear. So that's kind of what I'm gonna try to investigate this morning. But it'll be a while before we can test it in the water again, and it's hard to test these things out of water because it's the load that starts to disengage it, and you can't put it on a load out here. It's got to be in a body of water somewhere, and it's just difficult to do. So we'll see what we can do this morning. So I think I figured it out. It goes forward and reverse just fine, but there's a locking mechanism down here that's supposed to grab that pin when it pulls back, which keeps that lower unit from kicking up. What was happening yesterday was that locking pin was not engaging, so the lower unit would just flip up when you went into reverse. So we're working on that. So far things are working. So we just got back from the lake and we're very excited. I'm gonna count that as a success. It went into gear just fine, out of gear just fine. The lower unit stayed locked in. We were able to trim it up, trim it back down. It ran great, got up on plane, no problem. Yeah, that was very exciting. It's been a long time since I've had a boat that could go more than 8 knots. So that was a win. We had the same spectacle, or the same spectators as last time. They were there, literally sat there and watched us, and they rooted for us. So we got to show them a victory too. So mission accomplished.